I've always had this really intense obsession with dragons. When I was little, my grandfather used to call me his dragon princess. From then, and still to this day, I have been collecting dragons. I have everything from books to tapestries to figurines to jewelry and pillows. The shine of their scales, their prowess, and the fact that they were prevalent in most of my favorite books, like Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Aragon, Game of Thrones, etc., really drew me in. Not once in my life did I ever expect that I'd get to own a real dragon. This is my baby, Arya Pamela Baggins. About a week before I got her, I was going through a really rough patch in my life. My long-term relationship had ended on rough grounds, and my mother's illness was progressing, and her condition was worsening. I fell into a really deep depression. I had kind of given up on being happy in my life. On June the 2nd, about a week after my mother's heart surgery, while working in my job at the local pet store, I met a customer who wanted to give away her bearded dragon so that she could get a new puppy. Because I make drastic decisions impulsively when I'm in emotional distress, I said I would take the bearded dragon, then named Sandy and now named Arya. When the customer brought Arya and her tank to the store, I was taken aback. Her color, which should have been golden, was faded brown. Her tank was full, 2 inches deep with sand, which could kill a bearded dragon due to impaction. Crickets were roaming freely by the dozens in her tank, which, at that quantity, were biting her and creating a filthy habitat. Her tank and lights were covered in a film of dust, and she was incredibly malnourished and small for her proclaimed age of 1.5. I had to get to know her slowly. I had to get her to trust me. I started by putting my shirt in her tank so she could get used to my smell. After a few days of that and hand feeding her, she let me pick her up a little. I put her on a diet of spinach, bell peppers, yellow squash, and zucchini, and of course calcium-covered crickets, all of which would help bring back her color. I took all of the crickets out of her tank and fed her in a smaller 10-gallon tank to help her keep her home clean. I also began giving her regular baths so that she could soak up some water and ease into a peaceful shedding when it was time for her to shed. I put her under the correct lights and began to work on regulating the temperature in the tank. Over the next couple of weeks, Arya began to open up, and I began to get myself back into a regular schedule. Between feeding her and watching the time of her lights, I was back into a normal everyday schedule, which helped my emotional state drastically. I was also learning how to care for something new, opening my heart back up again. Bearded dragons also do well if they have a bit of sunlight, so this put me on a daily regimen of getting at least 30 minutes of sun, also beneficial for me since I spend most of my time either working inside or doing schoolwork. The depression was like a weight on my chest. Arya helped to heal me. It felt good to take care of something, and taking care of her helped me to take care of myself. It gave me a whole new schedule to work my life around, a whole new baby to fall in love with, and on top of this, I think I have collected the ultimate dragon. All of this to just say I thought I was rescuing Arya, but I think she rescued me.